Hello boomers! As you probably already know, which you do if you read the title of this video, this is my review of Sonic CD. So less wasting time and more using the time on this review to get straight into my point. Both Sonic 1 and 2, as you probably already know by this point, were games on the Sega Genesis, and they were major success. Those two games truly showed Sega's Genesis's fast processing that led to those games and the Sega Genesis itself all sell like hotcakes. But then something went downhill. Sega made the decision to make a new system all of a sudden, even though the Sega Genesis sold super well. And in the result, we got the Sega CD. This is kind of like the decision of Sega to release a game like Sonic Lost World on the Wii U in 2013. Both Sonic CD and Sonic Lost World have something in common. Both games were released on consoles not many people had during the time, which in end result made those games not sell too well. Trying to make one game sell an entire console most of the time never works. It's just weird and not a very good decision. For one, it's not good for Sega's economy, and two, the fans of the franchise like Sonic may not have had something like a Wii U, or in this case, a Sega CD back when it was released, and that is just the case. Sure, some fans had them back when they were released, but the majority of the people did not, especially not the fans, which in result led to Sonic CD not selling too well. So Sega afterwards decided to release Sonic 3 on the Sega Genesis instead, which they should have done with Sonic CD as well. But nope, Sonic CD is a Sega CD exclusive game. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure that the Sega CD had the potential to be a great console, but one of the main reasons why it did not sell as well, reasons I have not mentioned, is because it was released too early and was too expensive for its own good. So let's get into the story of the game I have had. I had not started playing this game after I played games like Sonic 1 and 2 and a demo of the first adventure game. Sonic Adventure game at that. So I was not very impressed with what I saw. It very much plays like Sonic 1 clone. But from a logical perspective, yes, the graphics obviously looks more textured and detailed than the first Sonic game, and the Sonic games on the Genesis in general. But yeah, the game never gave me a good first impression of it when I was like 6 or 8 when I first played it. I remember playing it, getting bored with it, and later quit playing it. After revisiting it though, I can now finally let you know how this game is, and me backing up my arguments as to why I think so. Before I get into the game itself, I would like to explain the development story of the game, later the things this game brought into the Sonic series, and finally talking about the story. So, the development. So back in the development of Sonic CD, did not always have the core idea of being Sonic CD. It in fact was a concept of Sonic 2, or a prototype, or whatever you want to call it. You see, back in the making of Sonic 2, of which there were two different teams which made two different prototypes of that game, Yuji Naka, the programmer of Sonic, later came to the conclusion that those two teams should be split into the making of two completely different games, as those two games end up being entirely different from each other. For example, Sonic CD plays a lot like Sonic 1, and also looks like Sonic 1 in terms of sprite and zones, just more upscaled. It also kind of plays like Sonic 1. Sonic CD is also very different from games like Sonic 1 and 2 because it has the element of time travel, which none of the first two games had. So, now that we got the development story of the game out of the way, let's get into what this game brought into the Sonic series. The game brought new characters like Amy and Metal Sonic into the Sonic series. Amy is, well, a hedgehog just like Sonic, but unlike Sonic, she's pink. She's in love with Sonic. She does not have much character in her, and she does not seem to have any personality. She's a one-dimensional character. Now this is why so many people hate her, but honestly I don't mind her. Yeah, she is kinda just there to make Sonic look good, but the thing is that she is kind of like that Sonic fan that fell in love with Sonic, unlike Tails, who is just a fan and just that. But Amy, on the other hand, is more possessed with Sonic and represents that fan that has stronger feelings for him. She's a character that is supposed to be there to make us realize how important Sonic really is. Sonic sure does not like her back. I'm assuming that is because he needs to control his feelings and think of the danger she might have come in if they came to be together. You may prove me wrong with my statement, but I like to think that way better rather than think of Sonic being a dick towards Amy. After all, he's a hero, so why is being a dick such a good thing? Sure, Amy may be annoying at times, but being a dick is not going to help anyone in any shape or form. My bad, any shape or form. Back on track. So, the game also brought Metal Sonic, which is a robot of Sonic that Robotnik built, that was made to be better than Sonic in every way possible. And it succeeded, so he's like the superior Sonic in the way, even though he's a robot. I think the idea behind him is pure genius, and that he is a great rival for Sonic. He continued to show up in future titles, which I'm glad that he did, as he's an awesome villain, at least in my book. Yeah, he was not very smart here, but let's be fair, he had not fought Sonic before, so that is probably why he sucked so much the first time he fought Sonic, which is in this game. He does become stronger as the series goes on, which I'm glad to say, so I'd say that it adds into the character development of that character. And, you know, making a strong character becoming strong over time rather than being strong right from the get-go, I find to be a better structure in terms of character development. So, you know, I don't mind this. Now, let's get into the story of the game. The story in Sonic CD is this one planet so-called Little Planet, which I find ironic, is being taken over by Dr. Robotnik. So Sonic has to stop him and give the Little Planet a good future. I think the story is unique in a way, as it does mix things up a bit in terms of storytelling, unlike Sonic 1 and 2, which I can give credit for, as it does give the game atmosphere. Stories in games, especially when it comes to platformers, really does not need to be a complex story, but it's still nice to see detailed story as it does add to the atmosphere in the game. It makes you feel more motivated to keep playing it. Not that this story is especially detailed, but it does add those little extra details that kinda is a nice touch. But again, as I said in both my Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 reviews, yeah, you know, it's not a requirement for the platform game to be good. It's just a nice extra detail. Now, for that gameplay. Sonic CD plays a lot like Sonic 1, but with some really lazy stage design. Correction, many lazy stage design choices. Let me explain. The stages are now rather large upwards than sideways, unlike Sonic 1 and 2, which was the opposite. That means that if you simply run forward, you can beat a stage in a couple of seconds, usually, which is really easy. That is unless you stand still, jump upwards on platforms, and explore for a bit. And I got to say the exploration in this game looks very nice and well done. There's a lot of potential behind the level design if you look closer into it. But here is where the game really bothers me. Why do I need to do a dead stop to explore? Before you dislike this video, let me explain. If they want to add exploration, then let that complement the gameplay of speed. So the gameplay does not have to be separated into different categories of sections, or however you want to put it. For example, in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the exploration, platforming, and speed complemented one another. It never felt like the game lacked one or another gameplay, or at least rarely. Here, you need to pick a gameplay you want to play around with. It's not really a flaw as it is optional unless you want to time travel, which I will get to later, but it felt like a missed opportunity. For people like me, I love Sonic games to have a balance between speed and platforming, not just one over the other. This is something that keeps this game away from being the best of the classics, in my book. The stage design does seem promising at first, or just fine, but then it becomes chaos with the zone chaos. Being more specific, the name is actually Collision Chaos, but that's besides the point. There's irony right there, as you probably noticed. Anyways, which has lazy objects and hazard placement. And it goes on with other zones as well. As a Sonic game, at least in my book, as the definition of a Sonic game is different from person to person, it's pretty average. But as its standalone game, that is a different story, which I'll get into eventually. So, in this game, you need to time travel in order to make a good ending. Or at least, the story makes it seem like it. But the other option is you collecting the time stones. So let's first talk about the time travel method. There are signs that has past written on them. If you pass a sign, it will be up to you to build up a momentum and jump up high into the sky, so you will time travel thereafter. And just like that, you are in the past. So now you need to destroy the Badnik generator, which is hidden in each stage. Pass the goal sign and you have made a good future for that stage. Do this in every stage in the game, except for Act 3 in each zone, and you will get the good ending. Don't do it in a single stage or simply miss and you will make a bad future. That is unless you later chose to take the other method, which I will bring up eventually. So yeah, time traveling could be hard with lazy level design in zones like collision chaos, etc. And it does not feel very fluid. Again, as I said earlier, yeah. It does work when you get the hang of it, but it could still be a chore at times. So, as I said earlier, the second way of getting to the good ending of the game is via collecting all the time stones, which you get by beating the special stages. And boy, those special stages are just so annoying. Or you could just say, they're special. Get it? Special? Whatever. You get to the special stages by collecting 50 rings without getting hit, just like in Sonic 1, and hit the goal post and jump inside the ring, which leads you to a special stage. The goal is to destroy all UFOs in this 3D-like environment. At first, it's easy, at least with the couple of first special stages. But later it gets crazy in difficulty, and I can't help but feel that Sonic is going too fast, and considering that those special stages do not have much thought put behind them when it comes to how fast Sonic will run in them, you crash, bounce everywhere like a madman, and when you touch the water, it gets even worse, seeing as the timer goes much faster once you hit the water. I really wanted to have a good time with these special stages, but the last two ones or so made me so frustrated after so many trial and error that I in the end did not give a shit and gave up on them. I'm not against the fact that you want Sonic to go fast, because if you want Sonic to go fast, I'll just say this: fine game, let it be the way it is. But why not base the surrounding to Sonic around this concept then? Of which keeps it away from the potential and how much fun it could have been, because, well, the game did keep away from doing so. They simply chose form over function, which in the end damages the special stages. And this does not just apply with the Sonic CD special stages, don't get me wrong, this also applies to Sonic 1's and Sonic 2's special stages as well. Anyways, back on track with Sonic CD. And not just the special stages, but the same could be said to the entire game. Another thing I really hate with those special stages is the terrible hit detection. Sometimes it's hard to tell which is the right spot to defeat the robot. I swear to God, there have been times when I could tell I jumped in the right point, but only to find out that the robot was avoiding my attack for no proper logic whatsoever. Special stages, time travel, both has cons and pros. So yeah, pick your poison. A, needing to build up speed in not a very well thought stage design, or B, complete some very frustrating special stages. No matter which one you chose or choose, neither seems to be much better. But for its credits, it does let you choose your poison. But still, it's the definition of diarrhea with shit, and shit without diarrhea. The soundtracks as a whole in this game is a mixed bag, at least in my case. In the US version it's pretty sweet in zones like Collision Chaos, etc. The Japanese version handles some tracks from the US version better, and the other way around as well. Both tracks overall are really nice. Nothing too special, but very catchy. Which one is the better? All comes down to the taste in music. And I do get frustrated when a YouTuber like Kubani is willing to insult people who likes the US soundtrack better than the Japanese one. He's like, oh yeah, if you like the US version better, you're wrong. Don't listen to those kind of people, guys, in general. You know, stuff like this is subjective, it's not objective. Whether that thing or that is good or bad, it all comes down to subjective standpoint. It cannot be objective in cases like these. And Kubani just likes to exaggerate. Or maybe it's just the kind of personality he has in real life as well. I really do hope he was trolling, because otherwise, yeah, he's a real dick. The bosses in this game are way too easy, but at the same time enjoyable, so I guess you can cut some slack from that perspective. But there are also bosses like the Metal Sonic fight, where you race against Metal Sonic and try to get to the objective before Metal Sonic does. And that boss battle is pure bullshit. I honestly don't get how people can like it, but I mean, okay, whatever, more power to you. It's just that I cannot stand the chore of it. Firstly, the camera is too close to Sonic, leading you not being able to see the hazards and objects, which blocks the path, leading to a lot of cheap trial and error. I mean, yeah, you could argue Sonic 2's bosses were easy as well, but they weren't laughably easy, at least not in my book. I find that the Sonic CD bosses are laughably easy compared to Sonic 2's. Now I know that some may disagree and whatever, but I honestly feel this way. Remember how I said that this game plays familiar to Sonic 1? Well, that also applies to zones. All the zones in this game seem to be a copy-paste from Sonic 1. Palm Tree Panic is like Green Hill Zone, Collision Chaos is obviously Spring Yard Zone, as both has pinball-like physics, only here it is worth of how Sonic CD handled it, with its cheap game design. Tidal Tempest is a Labyrinth Zone clone. Stardust Speedway is Starlight Zone. Quartz Quadrant, or however you pronounce it, has been argued to be Marble Zone. For some, but I disagree. While both takes place underground, Marble has the charm of being a labyrinth-like area with lava, while Quartz Quadrant, oh my god, how the fuck? Anyways, it's a crystal-like cave. You know, Marble Zone is more of like that ancient temple location place. Anyways, back on track. Then there's Wacky Workbench, which looks alike Scrap Metal Zone, just more future-like. Now, this is not a major problem in the end, as they do play different from the original, for the most part. For example, Tidal Tempest is a more fun version than Labyrinth Zone, which was in Sonic 1. But this still does not mean that Sonic CD's zones as a whole lacks charm. At least I kinda feel that way. For the zones' credits, though, the graphics looks outstanding with the Sega CD capability, and it adds atmosphere. But good graphics does not mean much when my gaming experience was not very good. So let's finally wrap it all up at last. So, in end conclusion, the very badly decided level design, combined with the not very well thought through time travel, I consider this game overrated. If I were to upload my top 10 list of most overrated Sonic games, then this game would easily be near the top. I find this game way too flawed to be considered the best in the classics. I honestly had less frustration with Sonic 1 than I had here. Sonic 1 and CD still pretty much are both in the same level of quality in my book. Both are good games. Well, at least if we look at Sonic CD as an individual game and not as a Sonic game, but yeah. I just think Sonic 1 is a bit better because of the less frustration with the level design and better balance of speed and platforming. If you enjoy the game more than me, more power to you. The game is just not for me. However, before I end this review, just as I promised earlier, I would give this game a different point of view. As a Sonic game, to me, again, as I mentioned a couple of seconds earlier, it obviously doesn't work too well. In fact, I would argue it's average as a Sonic game. Not bad, but not good either. But if we forget that it's a Sonic game, how well does it play as just a platformer? In that logic, it plays just solid enough. Because by that logic, you don't run your fastest in the game, which can make you run into a lot of shit. But you instead take your time to enjoy the platforming the game has to offer. Because if you really look at it as an individual game, at least as I see it, yeah, the platforming, again as I said earlier, is very well handled and it's kind of impressive, to be honest. So if you want to get into this game, don't expect it to play like the other two. Don't expect your usual classic Sonic-like gameplay. Instead, take your time, and the game does give you a lot of time to try to enjoy the platforming and exploration in the game, which it offers. That is, when the game does not force you to go fast, which does not come off as very foolish when it does. Either way, when you take things slowly, when the game allows you to, you will have a much less frustrating time with Sonic CD. So in that perspective, as an individual game, it's good. Now, I have hopefully answered all your questions on what to expect before playing this game. You need a very special taste to enjoy this one. And if you have that taste, you should in the least find that game to be good. Thank you everyone for watching, and see you around at the speed of sound.